Now before we jump into the Expert Onslaught gameplay, I just want to show you guys how powerful this build can be. Carl here has roughly 300k health. It takes 3 Gallahorn shots to kill him. That's about the same as a barrier or overload champion in a Grandmaster Nightfall when you're 25 power level under. Well, we can just do this to him. Pretty crazy, right? In this 27-second clip, we throw 7 trip mine grenades, 4 gunpowder gamble grenades, and set off 4 ignitions, all while using only our abilities. Also, at the end of the clip, you can see that we have every single ability up and available to use. We also only used our dodge ability one time on Carl, I believe, which means the chaining of grenades got even better, and that's because of all the changes that have happened over the past year or so to gunpowder gamble and how things work. It counts as a grenade ability, so it procs everything to do with grenades, and also only has a 6-second cooldown now. So basically it's a free grenade every 6 seconds. That does the damage of an ignition in a wide area. We also have access to a lot of new weapons that play into the build, like the exotic rocket launcher Dragon's Breath, which is an absolute workhorse in Onslaught, and then we also have the solar rocket sidearm, Aberrant Action, that can roll with heal clip and incandescent, both great perks that play into the build. Needless to say, the gameplay you're watching in the Expert Onslaught can speak for itself. The way I have built the build is to make sure we have healing sources, since we can't take the healing grenade. So I have built it that our trip mine grenades will heal you on kills, your gunpowder gamble will heal you on kills, your rocket sidearm will heal you on kills, and orbs of power we create will heal you. So 4 different sources of healing, and as you can see in the gameplay, one of those sources is always happening every few seconds, even in difficult content, to keep your health topped off. Now you can take whatever super you want to use with the build. I like Blade Barrage, it's always just been a favorite of mine. You want to take Gambler's Dodge, so when you dodge near an enemy, you get that melee back. This also has a 15-meter distance, so it does reach pretty far. For your melee, take Knife Trick. This is when you throw that fan of flaming knives that scorches targets on hit. These are 3 individual knives, and each of them count as an ability alone. So remember that with the build. We also take Trip Mine Grenade. Both the Trip Mine Grenade and that Knife Trick will play into the build greatly later on. Now for your aspects, of course, we take Gunpowder Gamble. This only has 2 fragment slots, but it's definitely worth dropping one. When we defeat targets with solar abilities, solar debuffs, or solar weapons, we charge up that explosive, and we can use it every 6 seconds. And then we also take Knock 'em Down. For Blade Barrage, it will launch more projectiles, and while we're Radiant, Phylum Blows with your equipped throwing knife fully refund your melee energy. Technically, you could drop Knock 'em Down and take On Your Mark if you really want to, because the more difficult content you push up in, the less Knife Trick actually kills an enemy. That would be the only change I would make here if you wanted to switch things up. For your fragments, we want to take Ember of Ashes. This just allows more scorch attacks to happen when you use an ability, and we do want an ignition going off as soon as possible because that ignition counts as an ability as well, just like the individual knives from Knife Trick, or how Gunpowder Gamble counts as ability, so does a ignition. We take Ember of Resolve, Solar Grenade Final Blows cure you, so your Trip Mine's gonna cure you, and so does your Gunpowder Gamble. We'll take Ember of Singeing, your class ability recharges faster when you scorch targets. This is a 400% increase, and you're scorching with those knives all the time. You're scorching with your Trip Mine Grenade, and if you have Incandescent going off or your Dragon's Breath going off, you're also scorching. So you're gonna have your dodge back pretty much whenever you want. And then lastly, we take Ember of Torches. Powered melee attacks against combatants make you and nearby allies radiant. This is still a 25% weapon buff. Since you always have a melee, this can always be active for you and your fire team. And on solar alone, weapons still feel great when you get that buff. Now we already went over both weapons you can pair with the build. For the exotic, we're gonna take young Ahamkara's Spine. These were nerfed quite a ways back, but now they've been returned to their former glory, and once again provides Trip Mine Grenade energy for ability damage instead of kills. And this provides 33% grenade energy in PvE. So since each individual knife of Knife Trick counts as an ability, that's 33% per knife, so one knife throw can get you your Trip Mine Grenade back. We can also combo our Gunpowder Gamble along with our Trip Mine Grenade to get another Trip Mine back. So you can Gunpowder Gamble, Trip Mine Grenade, and then Trip Mine Grenade again. And then the ignition that sets off counts as an ability as well. So that trains right back into the Trip Mine Grenade. And since we only have a 6-second cooldown on Gunpowder Gamble now, remember solar abilities charge it for us. So when you're on a beefier target, like Carl there, or any of these enemies in the Expert Onslaught, that ignition will set off, it'll kill a bunch of enemies around it, and that counts as ability energy coming back to that Trip Mine Grenade. And it will charge your Gunpowder Gamble over and over with all those ignitions that keep going off. You also don't take any self damage to your trip mine grenades anymore, and you also get fastball to your trip mine grenade as well. And another cool thing is with Gunpowder Gamble, since we have on the Fragment Ember of Resolve, well, if you throw it close to you and it does go off and just kills one enemy, you regain that health back from that self damage, and Bungie quite a while back cut that self damage down really low now, which is very nice. That's for all of you that want to blow yourself up in game. For the mods on the build, they are important and I do think they play a big role. On the helmet, of course, Harmonic Siphon to create orbs of power with those solar weapons we're using, and Ashes to Assets just to gain bonus super energy on grenade final blows. This counts for Trip Mine and your Gunpowder Gamble grenade, and then also a special ammo finder to feed ammo into our solar rocket sidearm. On the gauntlets, we take 2 firepower mods. This allows us to spawn an orb of power from a grenade kill every 5 seconds, that's including Gunpowder Gamble. It's just going to double your orb generation from only having the 1 mod by jumping it up to 2 mods. And then we also take Focusing Strike. Grants class ability energy when you cause damage with a powered melee attack. This is so one fan of knives basically gives you your dodge back. On the chest piece, I like to take 2 resistance mods to just match whatever activity I'm doing. And for the 3rd mod, I take a Solar Reserves. Remember, Bungie buffed some reserves for rocket launchers a while back, and so Dragon's Breath, you can hold like 11 shots in there with just 1 reserve. On the boots, we still take Recuperation. This is just another way to get health back. We get 70 HP on orb pickup, and every time we dodge, we'll just automatically pick up those orbs. And since we're stacking 2 fire powers, there will be an orb on the ground at least every 5 seconds, because you're throwing your Trip Mine grenade and your Gunpowder Gamble quicker than 5 seconds. I also take an Absolution here, reduce all ability cooldowns each time you pick up an orb of power, and then a Solar Scavenger. Just because we have that Solar Reserve on, we'll also take that Solar Scavenger to pair with the special ammo finder, just to keep ammo up in that solar rocket sidearm. On the class item, we'll take Reaper. Every time we dodge, our next weapon kill will spawn an orb of power, and then Powerful Attraction. This automatically collects orbs of power for us, and that's an instant heal on demand. And then lastly, a bomber on that dodge. Probably not needed, you could slot this out for something else. Now, no artifact mods really benefit this build this season. I'm sure there might be 1 or 2, but I had nothing on that benefits it. Since I'm still only season pass like 20, I haven't unlocked very many of the artifact mods yet. For stats on the build, aim for 100 resilience. This is your damage reduction in all activities. Very important. And then you can bump your mobility and your discipline up as much as you want. I know Prismatic is still probably better, as it is with every subclass I think, but there's no denying how powerful this can be and how satisfying this can be to just chuck those grenades over and over. It was one of the builds a year and a half or 2 years ago that I did that I really enjoyed, and I'm glad it's been returned to its former glory. Thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys all in the next video. Have a great rest of your day.